Hello everybody and welcome to July's Crochet 101 series at Cuyahoga Falls Library. My name is Marianne and I'm so excited to get crocheting with you all. This video is meant to be an additional resource for you. You are not required to view it or use it. It is just there for you if you find it helpful. So with that, let's get started. So this is our project for the month. We are making a little cactus. The pattern is written so that your cactus should fit right into a 3.15-inch terracotta pot. I made this one at our decoupage program, so that's why it has a summery decoration on it. Alright. So I have my little terracotta pot. I have a size G or 4.5, 4.25 millimeter hook. I've got green yarn for the cactus, brown yarn for the dirt, and then I have yellow for the little flowers that I'm going to add after. You can also use pink, you can use another shade of green, you can use blue, really any color you want, but today I'm going with yellow. I've also got a yarn needle for when we have to attach all of our parts, and I've got some stitch markers to help me while crocheting in the round. I've got scissors as well, and then I have my cactus pattern. So we are going to get started with our green yarn. We are going to make the main part. We're going to make the cactus, the main part of our cactus. All right, I'm going to start with a slip knot. Put it onto my hook there, and we are going to chain 17. Get my camera to, there we go, refocus there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I'm going to double check that I have my 17 stitches. So when you're looking at a chain, it looks kind of like a braid. There's this bottom loop and then there's this top loop. On the top loop is a chain stitch. If you look on the back, you'll see it's a braid, but there's that extra kind of knot. It's like a loop, but it's like facing you upright. That's how you know it's the back of your chain. You want to go in on the front of your chain. When you're starting your first row, which is also called your foundation row, you always want to skip that first stitch. The reason for that is if I try to go into that first stitch, it's just going to come undone. Do that stitch again. So I'm going to skip this one. I'm going to go into my second one here. And we are just going to single crochet in each chain across. So as a reminder, single crochet is you insert your hook into the stitch. My camera here. Insert into the stitch. You have 2 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over or grab that yarn. You're going to pull through just the stitch. You have 2 loops on your hook still. Yarn over again. Pull through both loops. Now when moving on, there's a hole here. You can see that that is the one I just went into. It's going to be a little bit bigger than the rest, and you can see that my stitch here that I just did, those 2 loops, are coming out of that loop. So I don't want to go in there because that will actually increase, and we're not trying to increase right now. So my next chain is right here. Insert my hook, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. I'm going to do that in each chain stitch across. Remember, your foundation row is usually the hardest, I find. Just because the stitches are tighter, they're not quite as easy to see. But I promise, don't get discouraged. I promise after the foundation row, things get a little easier. last chain always seems to be the hardest to get into. That is my last stitch. So this is my foundation row. I'm just going to double check. So remember, since we chained 17 and then we skipped that first chain, I should have 16 stitches. So looking at the top of your project, on the bottom it's going to look like a regular chain. On the top, which you'll see is where your hook is. Your hook is going to be on top. Each of these V stitches, both of those loops, is one stitch. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. All right, and now for rows 2 through 21, we are going to back loop single crochet in every stitch across. And I'm going to do my turning chain real quick, and then I'll show you how to do back loop. So a turning chain is just you yarn over, you pull through that loop on your hook, it just gives you a turning chain, and then you'll turn your work. Remember, when you're crocheting, your crochet hook is in your dominant hand, and it always works toward your non-dominant hand. So I am right-handed, so my hook is going to be in my right hand, and my project is always going to be facing my left. And as I go across, I'm working toward my left hand, and then when I turn, I'm making sure that it's facing my left hand, my non-dominant hand. All right, so like I said, each of these V stitches, each of these little V's, this is our turning chain, so we're skipping that one. Each of these V's is a stitch that we want to go into. Regular single crochet is you would insert into the whole stitch. You'd go under both loops of that V. Back loop single crochet is you only go into the back loop. And by back, I mean the one furthest away from you. So this one is the front loop, it's closest to you. The back loop is the one farther away from you. So I'm only going to go into that loop, and then I just do a regular single crochet. Yarn over, and I pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. And I'm going to continue that all the way to the end of my row. Into that back loop, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. I had to pause for a second there, but I'm still just in that second row. We're just doing back loop single crochet across. Alright, and the reason we do that back loop single crochet across is because it gives us that ridge. So regular single crochet is like the dirt, is rather flat. This one gives us that nice ridge. It's kind of hard to see on this camera and with this multicolored yarn, but it gives us that ridgy effect, which just makes it look more cactusy. Alright, so I finished that row, I turned my work so it's facing my non-dominant hand. I'm just going to chain 1 for my turning chain. And insert into that back loop only and continue doing my regular single crochet. So what we're actually doing here is we're making a rectangle that we're then going to fold and gather to make our round cactus. So you do have an option if you want to adjust the size of your cactus. So this is the height of your cactus. I'll bring my example over. And then obviously when you gather it at the top, it goes in just a little bit. but you'll see that is how I got the size of my cactus, is it's just kind of like that. So you could always add stitches, do more than that initial chain 17, or you could do less if you want to make a really small cactus. I'll do a couple more rows together, just so you can kind of see how it's looking. And then we are going to do this for 22 rows. Again, 22 is just what I did to get like the width of the cactus that I wanted. If you wanted a really thin cactus or a chubbier cactus, you could do more or less rows of back loop single crochet. We've done a couple rows. You can kind of see that that ridge is really starting to take shape. And so you're going to continue that for 22 rows. And if you lose count of how many you've done, you can always count from one side. So this first dip is one row. And then when you see where it goes up, that is a second row. 3 is another dip. 4 is the one you just did. That's the one that's risen up. Other side, you see the same thing. So it starts with an up. That's 1. Down is 2. Up is 3. Down is 4. And we're about to do row 5. All right, I'm going to pause the video, keep crocheting, and I will see you at row 21. I apologize, I misread the on pattern. You do that for 21 rows, not 22. You could do 22, that's okay, but the pattern that I wrote says 21, so go on for 21 rows. All right, I am back. I have my 21 rows of back loop single crochet. So you see we have this rectangle with the ridges. And so the next part of our pattern says that we are going to fold our project in half, which connects the starting chain, which is down here, and row 21, which is the most recent row we did. And we are going to single crochet those two edges together. And so what I mean by that is we're going to just fold it in half. Get some yarn. We're going to fold it in half, just like this. And I'm just going to, I didn't do a turning chain for this row, but I have my loops on my hook. I'm just going to go right into that very first chain on my foundation row and do a regular single crochet. And so what that's doing is it's just connecting the two edges. So then I'm going to try and keep these as matched up as possible. And we are going to go into single crochet stitch on row 21. So that's both V stitches. And then we're also going to pick up a chain stitch from that first foundation row on the other side. And then we are going to yarn over. We're going to pull through the stitches so that we have those two loops on our hook. Yarn over and pull through both of those. And we are going to continue that until our two sides are connected. So I'm going to go into this single crochet. I'm going to pick up a chain stitch, yarn over, pull through the stitches, yarn over, pull through those two loops. Do it again, go into this crochet stitch, and pick up that chain, yarn over, insert into a V-stitch, pick up a chain stitch, yarn over, pull through the stitches, yarn over, pull through those two loops. And if it doesn't match up perfectly, that is okay. You basically just want to make sure that you're connecting the two sides and there's not too many gaps. So I'm just making sure that they're relatively matched up. But but you will see that since the chain row, at least my chain rows tend to be so much tighter than my single crochet, it is going to look a little uneven there. So I'm just going to kind of hold them so these two ends are together. I'm going to continue. And then when I reach the end here, sometimes if it is a little uneven, you kind of pick up the single crochet and you can do an kind of insert anywhere on the other side and do stitch. And then I'm just going to fasten off. So I'm going to take my scissors, cut this yarn, and pull it through that loop and pull it tight. So you'll see now we kind of have like a bracelet. So those two sides are connected. And it doesn't really matter because that single crochet row does just add another ridge. But if you want, you can also turn it inside out if you would rather hide that ridge that connected the two sides. But that is totally up to you. If you like how it looks, you can keep it on the outside. If you don't like how it looks, you can hide it on the inside. So these two tail ends, I'm just going to kind of weave them in a few stitches, but then they can hang out inside my project because we don't have to see them. So weave them in and out of a few stitches here, and then I'll just tuck them away inside. So we have the body of our cactus. And to make it round, we have to gather one end. So it doesn't matter what edge you choose, but you want to choose one of the open ends. Camera to focus here. And you can use your crochet hook here if you would like. I'm going to use my yarn needle. Just going to thread some yarn. I'm going to stick with my green yarn. That way it blends in. You just give more than I will need. So I'd say I have about 24 inches total yarn right here for my yarn needle and the yarn threading it. What we're going to do is we're just going to pick either top or bottom, one of those open edges, whichever you choose, doesn't really matter. And we're going to close it like a drawstring. So I'm going to insert my yarn needle from the inside first. I'm going to pull it through like this. I'm going to leave a little bit of a tail there because I will knot it after. And you're just going to weave your yarn needle. You want to stay really close to the edge up here, but you're going to weave in and out. Doesn't have to be perfect. Doesn't have to be super even. I usually do a couple stitches and then I'll pull through. But as long as you're staying close to the edge, you can really go in and out anywhere. If it's not a stitch, that's okay. If it's just any random space, that's okay. The zigzag pattern, pull through. And get my camera to focus. I move so much and this camera doesn't know how to focus when I move so much. Alright, and when I reach where I have my two ends there, I want to make sure I end, let me get inside, make sure I end on the inside. And so now I'm just going to cut this yarn, put my yarn needle aside, and so I have these two ends here. So this is from the beginning and this is from the end. All I'm going to do is I'm going to pull them. Not so tight that they disappear inside the project. You'll kind of pull them like that, and then I'm going to knot them. So just one simple knot. If you pull it really tight, you'll see that it closed that top. Oop. So I'm going to knot it again just to keep it secure. And 2 knots is probably enough. I'm going to do another one, just why not? All right, and then you have the other option here. So one thing is if you did want to keep your ridge on the ridge where you sewed the two edges together, if you wanted to keep that on the inside, that is fine, but you would want it on the outside when you tie these, because you could also fold this inside out and you'll have the ridge on the outside, but then that is hidden on the inside. So it is up to you. It doesn't really matter. It just depends on whether or not you like the appearance of either your clothes at the top or your ridge when you sew them together. I like my ridge. I like adding that extra ridge to my cactus. So I'm going to turn it inside out. That is my gather on top. And then I do have to weave these ends back in to the project. Just pulling them inside. And there is the body of our cactus. So we're going to leave this part open because we're going to go on to make our dirt, and then we're going to use our yarn needle, or you can use a regular needle and thread if that's easier, and we are going to sew this bottom onto our dirt. Alright, so I'm just going to put my little cactus aside for now. I'm going to take my brown yarn. Put my yarn needle away too. I'm going to start with a slip knot, changing pages of my pattern. So we're slip knot onto the hook, and now we're going to be crocheting in the round. With my slip knot on backwards. All right. So with the brown yarn, slip knot on the hook and chain 2. I still prefer to use the chain 2 method, but you also have the option to use magic ring here. We are going to single crochet 7 either into your ring or into the second chain from hook. So this is my first chain. I'm going into the second chain, yarn over, pull through the stitch, yarn over, pull through both. And then it kind of creates, that was the end of my row. So now I have this hole right in the center. I'm going to go into that same hole 7 times. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright, so we end with 7 stitches, and this is where if you want to use a stitch marker, you can. So a stitch marker can really be anything used to mark your stitches. This is what the traditional ones that you would buy in the store, this is what they look like. I've used pieces of ribbon before, anything that can fit inside your hook. But here's an actual stitch marker. So I'm at the end of my row here. I did my 7 stitches, but since you're crocheting in the round, it's not quite as easy to see the end of your row as it is when you're just single crocheting back and forth. So a stitch marker can be really helpful for this, especially if you find yourself getting lost while crocheting in the round. So I finished this row. I have 7 stitches. We're going to count. Our stitches look the same. There's still that V stitch. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to put this stitch marker in the last stitch that I did. And what that's going to do is that's just going to hang out in there, and it's going to signal to me when I'm in the last stitch of the next row. So row 2 is we are going to single crochet 2 in each stitch around. So we are increasing our circle, which means I'm going to go into this next chain, do a regular single crochet, so yarn over, pull through the stitch, yarn over, pull through both loops, and then instead of going on to the next chain, I'm going to go into that same, not into the next chain, into that next stitch. I said this one is my next chain, this V stitch right here. I keep saying chain, I just mean stitch. I apologize. This next V stitch would be my next one, but I want to increase. So I actually want to do 2 stitches in the same stitch, which would be this one right here. So I'm going to go back into that hole and do a regular single crochet. So you're going to yarn over and pull through, yarn over, pull through both. I'm going to do that in each stitch around. And at the end, since we're doubling, you should have 14 stitches. We start with 7 and then we end with 14. So I'm going to go into the next single crochet, I'm going to yarn over, pull through the stitch, yarn over, pull through both, go into that same hole again, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both. Go into the next one, yarn over, pull through the stitch, yarn over, pull through both, go into that same hole, yarn over, pull through the stitch, yarn over, pull through both loops. Go into the next single crochet, yarn over, pull through the stitch, yarn over, pull through both, go into that same hole, yarn over, pull through the stitch, yarn over, pull through both loops. Go into that single crochet, yarn over, pull through the stitch, yarn over, pull through both, go back in, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both. That is my regular single crochet, so now I'm just going into that same hole again, and I'm adding, and now you see I'm at my stitch marker, which means this is my last stitch of this row. So you can take your stitch marker out at this point. I'm going to ignore it and just keep going. So normal single crochet, and then same hole, increase again. Take my stitch marker out, and put it right back in the most recent stitch I did. Now it's moving up to signal my next row. And I'm going to count, make sure I have 14. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. The last one I count is the one that stitch marker is in. So it's also helpful when counting. That way you're not just counting in circles. Alright, so row 3, we're following this pattern of we don't want to just keep increasing in every single stitch, because that would mean that our circle would increase too quickly and it would start kind of folding up unevenly. But we also don't want to stop increasing, because then our circle would just start going up and it would kind of start making a tube, which we will do eventually, but we don't want that yet. So for row 3, the pattern is we're going to single crochet 1 regular stitch, and then we're going to, in the next stitch, we're going to single crochet 2 in the same stitch. And so we're adding 7 stitches every row, which means at the end of row 3, we're going to have 21 stitches. All right, so we start with a single crochet, just a regular single crochet stitch in that next single crochet. I'm going to go to the next one, start with a regular single crochet, and then I'm going to go back in that same hole and do 1 increase. We do that 7 times. Single crochet 1, single crochet 2 into the next stitch. That was from my stitch markers. Random piece of plastic. Single crochet 1. The stitch I single crochet 2. Single crochet 1, single crochet 2, single crochet 1, single crochet 2, single crochet 1, single crochet 2, single crochet 1, and this time I am going to take my stitch marker out. I'm just going to have to remember to put it back in. And single crochet 2 in this stitch. 21 stitches. Put my stitch marker back in that last stitch that I did. We've got 21 stitches, so we know that we increased the right amount, and you'll see our circle is growing. We're going to continue that increase pattern for 2 more rows. But I just want to show you what we're doing here. So we're working on the top of our dirt. So not only do we want to make sure that our circle is going to fit into our terracotta pot, we're also making it so that it matches, goes a little bit over, so you have a little extra dirt on the sides. But we want to make sure that it's going to cover the base of our cactus. It'll make more sense when we assemble it all together, but I just wanted to show you where in the project we are at. All right, so on to row 4. This time we're going to single crochet in 2 stitches, so 1, 2, 2 normal single crochet, and then in that 3rd stitch we are going to single crochet 2 into that same stitch. So I'm going to single crochet into this next stitch, go on to the next stitch, regular single crochet, go on to the next stitch, single crochet, and then I'm going to go back into that same hole and increase 1 more. Again, we are adding 7 stitches this row, so at the end we are going to have 28. Single crochet, single crochet, single crochet 2 into 1 stitch, single crochet, single crochet, single crochet 2 into 1 stitch, single crochet, single crochet, single crochet 2 in 1 stitch, single crochet, single crochet, single crochet 2 in 1 stitch, single crochet, single crochet, single crochet 2 in 1 stitch, single crochet, single crochet. We are back at that stitch marker, which means this is our last stitch we're going to do an increase in. Go into that stitch, single crochet, 2 into that stitch, count to make sure, (28) stitches. Take the stitch marker and put it right back into that last stitch that we did, so that signals the end of our next row. And now we are on row 5. So very similar pattern. This time we're single crocheting 3. So single crochet in 3 stitches and then increase in that 4th stitch. And at the end we're going to have 35 stitches. So single crochet, single crochet, single crochet, single crochet 2 into that stitch, single crochet, single crochet, single crochet, 2 single crochet into this stitch, single crochet, single crochet, single crochet, single crochet 2 into this stitch, single crochet, single crochet, single crochet, single crochet 2 in this stitch, single crochet, single crochet, single crochet, single crochet 2 into this stitch, single crochet, single crochet, single crochet, single crochet 2 into this stitch, single crochet, single crochet, single crochet. I reach my stitch marker, so this is the last stitch I'll increase in. Take that little guy out, single crochet 2 into this stitch. I'm going to count to make sure. 35 stitches, which is what we want. Put the stitch marker back into that last stitch that I made. And then for row 6, we are going to back loop single crochet in each stitch around. So we did this for the baby octopus as well. And what it does is it's going to give us that nice little ridge along the side of our dirt, and it's also going to help the rest of the dirt move downward. We already did this for our cactus, so back loop single crochet is, instead of going through, oh, my camera is not focus, buddy. Okay. Fortunately, the brown yarn is also a little bit darker, so I think it's a little bit harder for the camera to get on the little details, but that is okay. So instead of going into both loops of this stitch, I'm just going to go into the back loop. And we're not increasing, we're just regular single crocheting in each stitch around. And you'll see that ridge started already, and you're just going to do that in every stitch, so in every of the 35 stitches you have, or until you reach the stitch marker. Whichever way is easier for you to keep track. You don't have to use a stitch marker. I usually don't use a stitch marker, but they can be very helpful. So it is up to you and whatever helps you. I'm going to go ahead and take that guy out. I have 3 stitches left. And we also know, because if you look, you can see that this ridge started here, and then it circles around and goes right here. So we know that that is where our row ends. All right, so at this point, we are going to pause, and we are actually going to go ahead and attach our cactus to the top of our dirt. And the reason we're doing it now instead of later is because as we work downward and we have this kind of shape, it is harder to get your needle up there to attach the cactus. So we do want to keep our crochet hook, that loop that's on our crochet hook, we want to keep it intact. We don't want our project unraveling. What you can do with the stitch marker here, is you can take your stitch marker and you can actually put it inside that loop and then hold it to a single crochet stitch. That means that even if you're tugging on that yarn, your project is not going to unravel. All right, so for this one, you can really use the green yarn or the brown yarn to attach your cactus. Since we're attaching those two, both green and brown will blend in pretty well. I already have green on my yarn needle, so that is what I am going to use. And so what you're going to do is you see you have this circle, this is the top of your dirt. You want your cactus, it's going to sit right on top. It should be just on the inside of that ridge. So if you put your cactus on top and have it roughly centered from the top, well, you can't really see on the camera, but you should still be able to see some dirt around your cactus. You can see it there. The circle is going to be a little bit bigger than the base of your cactus. All right, and then, so I'm going to start sewing. I have my yarn needle with my green yarn on it. I'm kind of going to hold it roughly where I know I need it, right by that row of back loop single crochet we did. And I went in from the bottom of my pile of dirt. And I'm just going to pull it like that. I can knot that later if I would like. And you're just going to weave in and out. You want to stay pretty close to the edge of your cactus. Sorry, I went off camera a little bit. So you'll see all my stitches are very close to the edge there. I'm not trying to pull my cactus down or have too much of it. And I would say just every few stitches or so, you'll just want to look and make sure that it's still roughly centered. You can rearrange as needed. But the nice thing is you're doing it little by little, so it's pretty easy to just rearrange if you need to. It's also pretty stretchy, so if you need to move it to where it needs to be. But that row of back loop single crochet that we use is a good guide. So my ridge is right here, and I'm sewing my cactus on right here. And then I will be stuffing my cactus at this stage as well. But I'm going to wait, I still have a pretty big opening. I'm going to wait till my opening's a little bit smaller. And if you were here for May's project, the baby octopus, we talked about types of stuffing that you can use for projects like this. Today I'm using plastic bags. You can use regular polyfill, you can use, fabric scraps, old t-shirts. T-shirts are nice because that means it's really washable. Polyfill is probably the fluffiest, but plastic bags also work really well. Alright, so I sewed all around. You'll see it's roughly even to the top of my dirt. And then I still have this little hole left. So at this point, I'm going to put my needle down and I'm going to stuff it with plastic bags. Now, you don't have to cut your plastic bags. You can just, put whole plastic bags in there. I cut mine into just random strips and smaller pieces. I find that the strips make it easier to kind of, if it's one like solid full plastic bag, it doesn't move around quite as freely. So the bits and pieces of plastic bags seem to work better. But again, it's totally up to you. I would do the same with t-shirts. I'd cut it into strips or small pieces before using it as stuffing. All right, in terms of how much do you stuff your cactus? So you'll kind of stuff, and you don't want it to be too limp, so I need definitely more stuffing, but you also don't want it to be too firm. If it's stuffed too full, you'll kind of see that your stitches start to stretch. So they'll kind of be like this, and then you'll start to see the holes. Especially with polyfill, it means that the polyfill can start coming out. Plastic bags, you don't have to worry as much, but you still don't want it to push on your stitches and make it holy. For such a tiny cactus, I do find that I was really surprised at how many plastic bags. There's like 1.5 strips from, 1.5 plastic bags to fill this tiny little guy. Alright, the funny thing about plastic bags is that when you it makes a crinkling sound, which I think is very fun. So we want it firm enough so that our cactus stands up, but again, not so firm that it's stretching our stitches. Probably just a little bit more. Ooh, not that much. We need a smaller piece. Just for this area down here. Smaller pieces in there. Alright, so once you are content with how your cactus is stuffed, we're just going to continue our sewing. Just a reminder, if you're coming to our in-person class at the library, we will go through this in class as well. So if you're getting stuck or you're finding that this video is really confusing, you're not finding it helpful at all, don't worry. Bring your questions to our in-person class and we will figure it out. Alright, so I've reached the end. So what I'm going to do is, you want a circle, so these two loops right here are from where I started my sewing. I'm going to use my scissors. I'm going to cut off this yarn, and then I'm going to tie these two ends to these two ends to secure it. All right. So now we can move back to row 7. So I'm going to take my stitch marker out of my project, loosen that up, pick that loop back up, scissors away, and I am going to put my stitch marker back in that most recent stitch. All right, so row 7, we are doing a similar pattern to when we were increasing, but this time we are doing it for decreasing. So we are going to single crochet in 5 stitches, regular single crochet in 5 stitches, and then we're going to single crochet 2 together. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then single crochet 2 together. And as a reminder, to single crochet 2 together, I'm going to go into this next stitch as if it's regular single crochet, yarn over and pull through that stitch. And when I still have these 2 loops on my hook, I'm going to go right into the next stitch, yarn over and pull through the stitch. So I actually end up with 3 loops on my hook, and then I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. And what that does is I obviously took the space of 2 stitches, but it only is going to present as 1. So I'm single crochet for 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, single crochet 2 together again, 2, 3, 4, 5, single crochet 2 together again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, single crochet 2 together again. Oops, sorry, I went a little off camera there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we are going to single crochet these last 2 stitches together. So I'm just taking out my stitch marker, single crocheting these 2 together to make sure. I'm going to count my stitches. Alright, so we decreased 5 stitches. You should be at 30 stitches. Alright, so similarly, this next row, we are going to single crochet regular stitches for 4 stitches, and then we are single crocheting 2 together again. What we're doing is we're just slowly decreasing so that our dirt goes slowly in, and that way it actually fits into our terracotta pot, because our pots start really big and then they also get narrower further down, and we want to make sure our cactus fits into that. So single crochet for 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, single crochet 2 together. 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 1, 2, 3, 4. Take my stitch marker out because we are going to single crochet the last 2 stitches of our row together. Single crochet those 2 together. Stick my stitch marker back in. Count stitches. Alright, decrease another 5, so we should be at 25. For row 9, we're going to slow down our decreasing by just single crocheting in every stitch around. You might notice it feels a little bit tighter. You kind of feel as your project is decreasing inward. Took my stitch marker out, single crochet in that last stitch, put the little guy back in that last stitch that I made. Alright, now we are going to single crochet regular for 3 stitches, so 3 stitches regular single crochet, and then we single crochet 2 together. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, oop, going too fast, I lost my loops. 1, 2, 3, single crochet 2 together. 1, 2, 3, single crochet 2 together. 1, 2, 3, and then single crochet 2 together. 1, 2, 3, single crochet 2 together. 1, 2, 3, and then take my stitch marker out because I am single crocheting these last 2 stitches together. Count again. Decrease another 5, so we are now at 20 stitches. Keep my little stitch marker back in that most recent stitch. So that was row 10. So rows 11 through 14, we are just single crocheting. We're just going straight down for a little bit. Also, if you count your stitches and you find that you're at like 19 or 21, like maybe you missed one, if it's only by like 1, 2, or 3 stitches, it's not that big of a deal. So don't panic if your stitch count is slightly off. 1, 3 stitches won't make that big of a difference. Alright, so that was 1 row because I reached my little stitch marker. Another row of regular single crochet. So I wrote this pattern so that it would fit into a little terracotta pot, but if you don't want to put yours in an actual pot, you do have the option of skipping the dirt. What you could do is, instead of decreasing and making it this kind of weird shape, you could just you would do it up until we did that row of back loop single crochet, and then you would skip all the decreasing and you would just go straight down and then close it up at the end to kind of make a pot. You could also make the cactus, make just a little circle, fasten off and attach it to the circle, and that way your cactus has a little base. So you have plenty of options to make your cactus, or if you go on to make more cacti, you could make many different ones. Alright, that was my second row of regular single crochet. Stitch markers are sometimes very hard. Alright, this is row 14. Row 13, I'm sorry. We single crochet until row 14. Alright, that was where my stitch marker was. So this is going to be my last row. This is row 14. It was rows 11, 12, 13, and 14 are single crochet. So there's actually 4 rows of regular single crochet. I just misread the own pattern. Thank you for those of you, if you've been bearing with me for this very long video. I hope it hasn't been too boring. I hope it's been helpful. I know it is a very long one this month. All right, so I'm done with row 14. So now I'm on row 15, which we are back to decreasing. And you can start stuffing your dirt at this point if you would like, with any filling of your choice, or you can wait until after row 15. For row 15, we are going to single crochet in 2 stitches, and then we're going to single crochet 2 together. So single crochet in 2 stitches, single crochet 2 together, single crochet in 2 stitches, single crochet 2, single crochet 2 together, single crochet 2, single crochet 2 together, single crochet 2, and then I'm going to take my little guy out because single crochet in the last 2 stitches together. We're decreasing 5 again, so you should have 15 stitches, but since this is the last row we have before we close it, it doesn't really matter. At this point, it's small enough that you could just decrease until, you know, it's gone. So I'm going to go ahead and fill my dirt now with plastic bags. Again, use any kind of filling you would like. You can use a different kind of filling than you use for your cactus, if you would like. Again, you want it stuffed enough that it, you know, keeps its shape and is firm, but you don't want it so tight that it pushes on your stitches or makes it like too stiff. That was a big piece. I just made my loop really big there so it doesn't unravel, but that way I don't have to hold my hook as I'm doing this. Alright, I think I could have a little bit more space. That was too big of a piece, I don't need that much. Some little pieces for this part. And last bits. Alright, so once you're happy with the amount of filling in your, oh, I lied, I need a little bit more. Kind of like to feel mine because as it moves around, you know, you'll kind of feel if there's any other places that need more stuffing. Alright, now I'm good. So once it is full, our next row is to just single crochet all the way around. Single crochet 1 stitch and single crochet 2 together. We're basically just decreasing until we have a hole small enough that we can close it up. So I'm just going to single crochet 1, single crochet 2 together, single crochet 1, single crochet 2 together, single crochet 1, single crochet 2 together, single crochet 1, single crochet 2 together. I did forget to put my stitch marker back in, but you'll decrease single crochet together 5 times for this row, but it also doesn't matter. You just want to get your hole small enough that it is easy to close. Once I added that row, I did find I need a little bit more stuffing, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Still have enough of a hole that I can, you know, add some. All right, and then what we're going to do is we're going to fasten off, but I'm going to leave myself a really long tail. So you really only need like 5 to 7 inches, but I always give myself a little extra. And then I'm just going to chain 1 to fasten off. refocus my camera. And then same concept that we did when we closed our cactus up here. But I'm going to use this end that's already on my project. I'm going to weave it in and out of the stitches on this final row. Along the edges of that hole, we are weaving that end in and out. You also do not have to use the end. You could, fasten off and then use the yarn needle to weave in and out. Whatever is easier or preferable for you. I am crocheting really tightly today. My stitches are so tight, more so than usual. All right, once we reach the end, you're just gonna pull on that end and it's gonna close up your hole. And what I normally do is I hold it tight and I just kind of pull it into another random stitch, pull it again, and then if you had a separate stitch, you could knot it. I kind of pull it through so that there's still a loop right there, and then I pull the end through that loop just to give it a little extra security. Maybe. There we go. Pull it tight. And then I'm just going to put my crochet hook anywhere in my project. I'm going to grab that end and pull it through. Again, I'm going to cut, because the end is on the inside. And there we have a little cactus that fits right inside a little terracotta pot. You have the option, if you would like, you could always add eyes and a little V for a smile. If you wanted your cactus to have a face. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a little flower to mine. So, last page. It is optional. You do not have to add a flower to your pattern. I just thought it would be a cute touch for anyone who wanted to. So, I'm going to use my yellow yarn. Again, you can use any color yarn you would like your flower to be. Blue, pink, purple, any of those. Mine is yellow. Alright. So, I slip knot onto my hook. And then I'm going to chain 4. You can also magic loop if you would like. I'm going to slip stitch in the 4th chain from hook. So usually if your hook is here, the 2nd chain from hook, so it's 1, oh my goodness, my camera. There we go. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4. So the 4th chain from your hook, so one furthest from your hook, so that first one you did. And a slip stitch is you insert your hook into that stitch, you yarn over and you pull through both loops on your hook. You don't yarn over a second time, you just pull it right through, and that does create a magic loop. It's not a magic loop, but it creates a loop. So if you have your magic loop, you can go ahead and do that. And then the stitch we're going into is actually just the hole in the center of your loop here. So in the center of the loop, you are going to first do another slip stitch, and then you're going to do a double crochet. And a double crochet is you yarn over, insert into the loop, yarn over, pull through. You have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over again, pull through the first 2 loops. You still have 2 loops left, yarn over and pull through both. And then you're going to go back into that loop and slip stitch again. It is going to feel really weird, but what you're basically doing is you're repeating this pattern of a slip stitch is a really, really low stitch, and then a double crochet is a taller stitch. So you're repeating this up and down in this loop, and what it creates is this kind of ridged little flower shape. So I just did slip stitch. So I'm going to do another double crochet, slip stitch, double crochet, and the pattern I wrote says do it 5 times. You can do it, 3 times, 4 times. 5 seemed to be the max that I could fit into the loop. It seemed a comfortable amount to fit into that little loop there, but really you can just do it until you're happy with how your flower looks. You're kind of looking, I have like little petals there, so I think I'm just going to do one more. And then you're going to slip stitch one last time to finish. And then I'm going to cut my yarn, fasten off, and I have my little flower. So options for attaching. You can take out your yarn needle again and sew it on. Because it's so small, you can also use these 2 ends that are already on the flower. And I'm just going to use my crochet hook to kind of pull them into a stitch back here, and then at least one stitch down here. I'm going to go from the other side. I'm kind of going to weave these ends in somewhere, and then I want to knot them, but I want the knot to be hidden underneath the flower. So just kind of weave them randomly. I'm going to do it so that, you know, flower's here, the ends are there. And then I'm just going to knot it right there. And then I'm just going to cut these in because I knotted them so they're pretty secure. Again, you're welcome to use a yarn needle or a regular needle and thread to attach your flower. You can add multiple flowers. You can add a smiley face. Feel free to accessorize your cactus as much as you want. And then our little guy just fits right into our little terracotta pot. Thank you so much for watching, and if you're attending our class in person, I look forward to seeing you. Thanks, everybody.